All right, good morning, Wasteland. Here we are in 2021, and we are continuing to rank pretty much everything in Crossout. We started with cabins. Last video we did commons and rares. This one we're going to do specials and epics. Now, when we get into specials and epics, we get into perks, which means this makes it a much more challenging process to rank these weapons. However, we spent a lot of time on the Discord voting, arguing, debating. It was good fun, pinged everybody. And we came up with what we feel is a definitive list. Now, I had to make some judgment calls on some of these, but for the majority of these, we had a greater than 50% people vote for the tier of the weapon. Now, disclaimer, there's going to be people in the comments that are like, no, this weapon should be this tier or that one, or I get 5 kills a match in this weapon, it's the best. We did our best. We focused on versatility, how well you can use it, DPS, overall effectiveness, and we feel like this is a solid list. So if you're going to grind your first special or epic weapon, watch this first before you go buy yourself a D or a C tier weapon when you could be getting an A or an S tier weapon. Now this video is going to take some time. There's a lot of weapons to cover. Let's settle in. Let's start with the Ds. Our first D-rated weapon, guys, is the Grenadier. This thing used to be S tier. In fact, it used to be the scourge of the wasteland, and people spammed these and they went all the way across the map. And then they continue to nerf and nerf and nerf and nerf. And it's been nerfed all the way down to D class. You should not be running the Grenadier. It's just not that good. It has to stay near your vehicle. Its hit points aren't that great. Its overall DPS isn't that great. And it costs 4 energy. Learn to shoot, get a different weapon. Next one. The Lacerator. While it's better than some of the other melee weapons you could use, it's just not that great. Yes, you can get modules that are going to boost the damage of melee weapons. You're going to be doing better with something else. I mean, this thing takes 3 energy. You can do better. Don't bother with the Lacerator. Next up on our list of D weapons, the RT Anaconda turret. Drops a little perimeter turret, but it's not that great. It can't move. Yeah, it has more durability than its blue counterpart, but coming in at 4 energy, really just not worth your time. If you're a new player and you really can't aim and you really want to get one, sure, I guess, go for it. Pair it with the right cab, but there are better weapons out there. Oh, the TOW. Ladislav's going to hate me, but this thing is a solid D. It can be used for scouting, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's the only rocket in game that you can control and fly like a little drone yourself, which is neat. But it takes 5 points of energy, only has 12 ammo, and the damage just is not that good. Do not waste your time on the TOW unless you want to, just for fun or to use it as a scout weapon. As a PvP weapon, just say no. Just like with the Grenadier, the Fuse drone has taken a series of nerfs, really nerfing it down to garbage D status. The Fuse just isn't even that good anymore. The detonation and explosion from it is not going to be what you want for damage. Coming in at 4 energy, say no to the Fuse. And our last D weapon, here it is. The Arathron. It has a projectile that shoots as a solid slug and then bursts into a pellet at a certain range. The mechanic really just doesn't work. It does and it doesn't. It's too finicky and it's too particular. There are better weapons out there. Steer clear of the Arathron. Yeah, just don't. Just say no. On to C-rated weapons. Our first C-rated weapon is the medium. It's a little autocannon. It's a C+. There were a lot of people that were like B, but there were more that were like, yeah, C. It's a decent little autocannon. 5 points of energy, though, and not a whole lot of durability. Overall damage isn't great, but easy to aim. Pair it with a scope. Absolutely, it's usable. Alright guys, next up on our C-rated weapons is the Emily Revolver. It's got a cool mechanic. It shoots little grenades, boom, boom, boom. But it's just not that effective. There's better weapons out there than this. The damage just isn't good enough and the ammo is terrible. Don't use it. And it only has 100 durability, wet toilet paper durability. Just say no to the Emily. Next up on C weapons, the Buzzsaw. Yeah, it's bad. It just doesn't do enough damage. It really doesn't. You might be thinking you're doing the damage that you're doing, but you're not. Don't use the Buzzsaw. Get a better weapon. All right, yet another little shooty drone. The Sidekick, the little shooty machine gun drone. There are better weapons out there. For 4 energy for this thing, and it has 141 durability. Drones have been nerfed hard, guys. Don't use them. Pick a better weapon. Yet another drone coming in the C category, a little flying machine gun drone. Yeah, this one only takes 3 energy, but still, not a lot of DPS. Really easy to shoot these out of the sky. There are better weapons. Guys, it's like drone after drone. Yeah, the Python also coming in at the C category. You do not need this little turret that you drop and you can't move it. It's stuck. I mean, one of the best things about them is if you hit it, the enemy team flips right over. So it does stop people in their tracks, but that is pretty much it. All right, next up we got the Leech. It's one of those fixed area angle shotguns. It's fixed firing angle. It's okay. It's not great. As you can see, damage is pretty low. Durability is okay. The perk is while cooling down, the resistance to damage types increases by 15%. There are better perks out there than that one. Skip the Leech. Another weapon that was once S tier and has continued to receive nerf after nerf over time is the Caucasus. Yeah, it's maybe a C+. You can target enemies and just drive and ignore, but they've changed the mechanic of this weapon enough that it's really not that great. And 4 points of energy, it's not a great weapon. Its damage is going to be really low. It has a huge hitbox. And if you're not targeting right or pairing it with a good radar, it's just not that effective. Say no to the Caucasus. All right, guys, here we are at the Nest. It's that precision rocket launcher that's going to shoot. It does have a perk that makes relocking onto a target a little bit easier. However, it's gotten hit with a series of nerfs, which have made it just not that great at this point. It came out the door like so many weapons in Crossout. They start at A and S tier for people to buy the packs because they're not craftable. And then after playing them a while, they nerf them down to a C or a B tier weapon. Skip this one. There's better weapons. Next in the C tier, we got the GL55 Impulse. When this thing dropped, like so many weapons, it was an A or an S tier. It's just not as good now. The perk is after 5 successful hits, you get a bonus on the next hit. Not that great of a perk. It takes 5 energy, so quite a bit of energy. Doesn't have a lot of durability. There's weapons that are going to do more damage. It's okay. I guess maybe I'd give this one a C+, but overall not that great. The Spike was hard to see as a C tier weapon. Without having a ridiculously good aim and or putting this thing on hover and just moving like lightning, you're not going to be super effective. Like so many other weapons, this used to be an A tier or even an S tier. Hell, look up my video of this where I do a little hover on it. I got an amazing amount of kills. It was awesome. But it's just not that good. It hasn't kept up with the times. It's okay. I'd give this one a C+ for the Spike. But unless you have precision aiming down, you're going to really struggle with this one. The Mauler, coming into the C category, yet another melee weapon that just doesn't do the damage that we need it to do. It has a perk that increases damage to all other chainsaws, so if you're going to use it, you pretty much got to do all chainsaws. At that point, just get a Harvester and say goodbye to this. Don't use the Mauler. Now, when the Quasar first dropped, the damage was great, and I love that there was no projectile drop. But the projectiles are so slow. So you really got to lead your target. You got to aim ahead of your target. Damage can be good. I'd give this one a C+, but there's other weapons that are just better now than the Quasar. Yeah, it's got a decent amount of durability, but look at the hitbox on that thing. It's the size of a barn. People are going to shoot that off your rig, and you can't armor around it at all. You just can't. On to the next one. Oh, the Fafnir. Used to be A or S tier for sure. Really good when they first dropped it. It's just not as effective as it used to be. The higher the car's speed, the lower the weapon spread is. So if you put this thing on a fast build with the right engine, it's going to be okay. There's just better ones out there than this one. Skip the Fafnir shotgun. Yeah, there's better ones you could do. All right, we got another fixed angle shotgun. There's not much to say about it. The damage is pretty low. Durability's okay. It's got another one of those perks where your weapon gets resistance to all damage types, but for this one, instead of when it's not shooting, it's when it's shooting. Let's just agree that they were lazy with the perks on some of these weapons. There's better weapons out there than the Rupture. The Corvo earns itself a solid C rating. Just, you can't get enough damage out of your 6 rounds before you got to reload the clip. And the perk where the final shot gets double damage, it's just meh. You can use these for stripping weapons if you're shooting really accurately in one single spot, but overall the damage output is pretty garbage. On to B weapons. Our first B-rated weapon, the M37 Piercer. With the really rapid fire rate, only takes 3 energy. If you burst fire these, they can do pretty well, although they have the durability of wet toilet paper, so be careful how you build them or they're going to get stripped right off your build. Next up in the B category, AC-50 Storm. That's right, I moved an autocannon all the way into the B category. This one's pretty decent. Damage is solid. And the perk is the further the target, the higher the damage. So use this thing with the scope. You can get up to a 12% damage bonus shooting long range with this bad boy. And it just looks cooler than some of the other autocannons. The Synthesis. Used to use this seal clubbing at low power scores. It used to be A tier for sure. It's just not as good as it once was. It shoots some plasma. You don't have to worry about the recycle on it like you used to, but still... It's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. It's B tier. It's exactly middle of the road. It's okay. Next up, the Boom, aka the poor man's Lancelot. You're better off using a Lancelot if you can. It's okay. The damage just isn't amazing. Durability is really low too, so they can get shot off before you hit the target. They're okay. Not amazing. Alright guys, here we have the Junk Bow coming in a little better than its counterpart, the Fafnir, simply because it has a lower power score. Pretty much does the exact same thing that the Fafnir is going to do. It's going to shoot a big old healthy slug of damage, and this is our last special weapon in the B tier, on to epics in B tier, and there are a lot of them, so saddle up. I'm going to try and go fast. B tier, it's solid, drops mines, people drive over them, they get blown up, 3 energy. Is it amazing? No. Is it terrible? No, it's okay, it's B tier. Next up, we got the AC-64 Jewel. It's a decent autocannon. Weapon heating while firing slows down as your movement speed increases. Anything that lets you shoot longer is a good thing with an autocannon. We're giving the AC-64 B tier. Next up, AC-72 Whirlwind autocannon. This thing's huge. The hitbox is massive, and it takes 5 energy, and it's really hard to armor, but it's got a decent perk with the farther away the target is, the more damage you do, giving you up to 30% damage bonus. It's okay, not amazing. On to the next. Next up, we're looking at the Remedy Flamethrower. You really want to be using this thing with a Blight Cabin. It's pretty good. Heats up parts. They receive more damage when you heat them up. If you like fire builds, it's okay. Are there better fire weapons? Probably, yeah. If you're going to use this, though, definitely pair it with Blight. Next up, Spectre 2, maybe the most vanilla machine gun in the game. Each hit increases damage by 4% up to 3 seconds. There's not much to say about it. It's just an okay machine gun that does okay. B level. Some folks wanted to give this one A. I say, hey, B+. It's the Fidget. It's a rapid-fire machine gun. It's got hit points of wet toilet paper, extremely high fire rate, but it does slow down weapon heating when you hit an enemy. So anything that slows down your heating, that's going to be a good thing. Although you're not going to have a lot of range with this one, stay close, burst fire, and be careful. At least it's smaller than some of its other machine gun counterparts. Next up, the Thunderbolt. Not much to say about it. It's a pretty vanilla shotgun. As you travel, you get a damage stack bonus up to 25%. It's okay. You want to be driving and moving and shooting with this bad boy. And yes, it's good at close range, but it's just okay. Are there better weapons? Yes. Alright guys, here we are with this Ravager weapon, the adapter. I originally had it in C, but we had some real adapter fanboys on the Discord, and they fought for it. And they were right. We moved it up to B. Increases weapon damage as vehicle's durability decreases. So kind of like the Humpy, as you take damage, this thing's going to do more damage. The Gravistar. Used to be an A, took some nerfs. It's sitting solidly at B right now. Think of it as a laser shotgun. When the weapon overheats, the first projectile heats part of the hit. The shotgun becomes heated, so you get like a bonus hot shot out of this thing. Pair with a favorite cabin, you can do okay with it. There's just better weapons. Really vanilla frontal shotgun here. The Protector, every hit gives you all these machine guns that are fixed like this. They have that stupid resistance perk. It's a lame perk, let's be honest. It's just not exciting. It's an okay weapon, gets a B. The Fat Man. This has a sweet place in my heart because it made my first tank build with this on one of my first YouTube videos. Originally had this thing at an A tier, but after some debating with the guys on the Discord, we moved it to B. There's some better cannons, and we'll talk about that when we get to A tier. So we're giving this one a B+ for the Fat Man. The nice thing about it is you can aim 360. It's got some serious projectile drop, and it takes 6 energy, but it's got a ton of durability, and it just looks cool, let's be honest. And next up, we've got the blockchain. It's kind of like a laser shotgun, and it does a little bit of damage penetration. Even though it has a durability that's better than some weapons, it's just huge. It's got a big hitbox. I find it gets stripped a lot. A lot of people were arguing we should put it in A because you can really deframe people with it using the armor penetration. So I'm going to give it a solid B+ rating, but I just didn't feel it earned A. So there's the blockchain. The incinerator. It shoots poor man's porcupines, flaming barrels of gas. It's okay. It's just not that great. That's 6 points of energy. You could be doing a lot more other weapons than this explosive shooty thing. Don't do it. There's better weapons out there. Our last B-rated weapon, it's the Pyre. Yeah, it's just one of those homing rockets. Not a lot to say about it. You can get a lock on a target. You can shoot it. People dodge these pretty easily with cloak nowadays and just hide behind a rock. There are better weapons out there. Let's get to the A tier. Our first A tier weapon is the Sinus. A direct hit increases the weapon's damage for 2%. It's just a solid machine gun. In the special category, it's something new players are going to do decent with. Only requires 3 energy. Big drawback, though, is hit points only has 90 durability. So it's going to get stripped if you're not careful. All right, guys, here we go. We got our turreted cannon, the Hulk. Easy to aim, easy to shoot. Yeah, it's got some projectile drop, but it's got good durability at 583. A direct hit speeds up your reload, too. So if you're shooting people and face tanking people, or you put it on something like an Echo and pair it with an engine for reload, it's going to just shoot really rapidly, and your DPS is going to be solid. Good special weapon. Highly recommend it. All right, guys, Prosecutor, put it on hover, put it on legs, put it on something that you can strafe with, and the armor penetration on this is going to just make your day great. Fires armor-piercing projectiles after exploding, piercing 1 pin of the armored car structure. So anything with armor penetration and an exploding blast radius is going to do solid damage. You just got to get the aim down. It will have less projectile drop than its turreted counterpart, but it's only got a limited firing arc. But solid cannon, and it sounds really cool. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Goblin Shotgun. It used to be S tier, but after a little bit of nerfing, it's still holding solid at A tier. Really good for just undermounting underneath things or putting them on like a bastion wedge with Goliaths on the side. And only takes 2 points of energy. So the amount of damage you can do with a bunch of these is a lot, and you can also do contact damage with ramming on these. It's a really unique shotgun, and there aren't any other ones quite like it in the game. It'd be nice to see a whole line of these, but it's a really, really solid shotgun. All right, guys, here we go with the Pyralid. It's an on-guided rocket launcher, and once you learn to aim these on-guided rocket launchers and armor them, they do really good damage. If both of your rockets hit, the blast radius is boosted in your next shot. Just like the Wasp, you know, side mount it, under mount it, armor it up appropriately, and this thing will put out some hurt. Stick it on some hovers and have fun. All right, guys, next up, the Equalizer. It's a minigun. With enough holding down left click, this thing will really tear things to pieces. The longer the weapon fires, the higher its damage. So you really want some good radiators so you can keep this thing shooting for as long as possible. You're going to want a really heavy duty build because these guns are going to have to just stay in front of the target and hold down left click because they don't have the alpha damage that the cannons do, but a really solid minigun. Okay, here we have the Flute, and this one gets an A because if you shoot this thing right or you angle it so your rocket has a longer firing arc, it's really going to boost the damage of your rockets by up to 18%. So a solid guided rocket launcher. Raise your hand if you've been lanced. We all have. We've all been wrecked by lance builds. They're solid. They work. It's a one and done build, and the damage on this is a lot more than on the Boom, and the faster you're going, the more damage it's going to do. And that perk makes all the difference with the Lancelot. So if you want to ram people and blow up and grind quickly in PvP, grab yourself a whole pile of Lancelots. They only take 1 energy. Have fun. Some of the guys on the Discord wanted to give the Executioner a B rating. And I was like, are you kidding me? B rating? I'm a little biased. It was my first triple cannon build I ever made was an Executioner build with legs on a step cabin, and the sound on this thing's absolutely amazing, and it's got armor-piercing projectiles that pierce 2 pins of armor. So again, like same line of fixed firing cannons. You get that armor penetration. You're not going to go wrong with this thing. It's going to do solid alpha damage. You can really lay out the hurt, but once again, you're going to want to be able to strafe and aim with this thing because it doesn't have a lot of firing angle. Here we go, guys, the Snowfall, and of course, like any new weapon that Targem releases, it's good. It's an A category. It fires 3 rockets, does a lot of damage. There are a lot of unguided rockets in Crossout that just do really good damage, and this thing puts out solid DPS, like a lot of the other unguided rockets. Speaking of unguided rockets, we got the Cricket, which I could argue is an A+. This thing is really, really solid. If you mount these right on a hover inside and behind, you can really armor them up and protect them. And the further away the target is, the more damage they do. It used to be S tier, but they did hit it with a pretty big nerf on spacing the shots out in the last couple of months, moving it down to A tier, but still a very solid choice. Guys, this thing is a laser. You can't miss with it, and in the final moments of the shot, deals 500% more damage. It's a laser, and it goes shoot stuff up. It's fun to use, blow stuff up. You can't miss. Its only downside is it doesn't really have anything beyond short range. The Tackler has been a solid machine gun since it was released, and just like the other machine guns, it has a resistance to all types of damage except energy damage, but the perk is disabled when shooting. So it's nice that whenever you're not shooting, which is a lot of the time, you're getting that big damage resistance, and the damage output on this thing is solid. The durability is okay, and it only takes 3 energy. It's just a good all-rounder machine gun. It's a nice upgrade from its counterparts of lower power score. This bad boy is a little bit hard to armor, but the DPS on it is solid. There's no projectile drop, and with each burst, it deals 10% more damage than the previous one. This thing can put out a lot of hurt in a short amount of time. You're just going to want to make sure that you can move and scoot when you're using this thing. Here we go, guys, with the Elephant. We moved the Fat Man down to B. We moved the Elephant up to A because it's got a little bit less projectile drop. It just does a little bit more damage. And after the shot, you get weapon damage resistance, and it is one of the more cool-looking turrets in the game. It's just a solid turret cannon. You're not going to go wrong with this thing. Now, the Skinner I almost removed. I was like, is it a weapon? Yeah, it does damage. But it needed to be included because you can really do... There are builds that just don't work without it. And at low power score, you can really ruin somebody's day with a Skinner. So we decided to leave it in. Giving it an A rating. We got one more A rating before we get to the chosen S tier special and epic weapons. Last A tier is the Whirl autocannon. And this autocannon works like none of the other ones. It's a close range autocannon. And if there are 2 or more enemies within 65 meters, you get a 30% damage bonus right out the door. This thing does a lot of hurt. It's easy to use, hard to miss with. It's a little bit tricky to armor up, but it's a really, really good cannon, and new players are going to have no problem using it at all. On to the S tier weapons. Our first S tier weapon is the Mace Shotgun. Gets damage bonus for moving, so just make sure you're going fast and circling an enemy and shooting them with this, and you're going to do great. Only takes 3 points of energy. You can put a lot of these on a build. They're going to do really, really well. Just try it. Make a shotgun wedge. Thank me later. The Mace. First S tier weapon. The Summoner, while not as good as when it first came out, is still a lethal weapon, and it has 2 modes. It has that single fire mode, or you can hold down and do like a shotgun of nails into an enemy, and that does that stupid amount of damage. At low power score, this thing puts out a lot of hurt. Remains a solid S tier weapon choice. Even with nerfing this bad boy, you can't get around the fact that cap cans will ruin your day. Is it a weapon? No. Is it effective? Yes. This thing will stop you literally in your tracks. You can drop up to 3 of these. If you've never had a cap can, it literally goes with every build. I almost never regret having a cap can on my build. Stop someone from chasing you. Stop someone so you can dump porks on them. Defend the base in your spider build. Cap cans are freaking awesome. Buy one. You're welcome. Thank you. We got 2 left. All right, guys, we got the Aurora. It's a combat laser, but what it does is it heats up parts so that other weapons do more damage. Pair this thing with the Equalizer, and it's going to put out a lot of hurt, or any other minigun, for that matter, that has a similar rate of fire and heating. The Aurora, solid combination when pairing it with a minigun. And the last but not least, for the special and epics, coming in at S tier is the Locust unguided rocket launcher. It's going to have a little bit tighter volley than your Cricket, and if both rockets hit, you get an increased blast radius of 30%. It's a really, really solid rocket launcher. You'll notice that theme of us putting these rocket launchers at S tier consistently. If you haven't tried them, highly, highly recommend. Now, if you disagree with me about one, let me know in the comments. And like I always tell my students in real life, you got to tell me why. If you think something should be A tier and it's B, why? Tell us why. Let's light up these comments, guys, because, hey, at the end of the day, this is just the opinion of me, my mod team, and about the 150 people that dropped in to join us in the chatting over the last couple of days. But we spent some time on these charts. We worked on them. We used democracy. Did I have some veto power on some of these? Yes, I did. But I'm just trying to help you guys out. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna link. There's the spreadsheet. I'll put the spreadsheet in the description. You don't have to watch the whole video. Click it next time you're going to buy something, but so you don't end up buying some C or D tier garbage when you could be getting A or S tier. And last, this is probably the most important one, because let's be honest, the epics are the majority of weapons you're going to see in the game. But next video, we'll cover legendaries and relics. And then on to movement parts. Yeah, that's right. We're going to rank movement parts too. So stay tuned for that. And thank you as always for supporting the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Be good, stay safe. Mr. G out.